3, Gareth Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and asks, why did the government approve increased debt for Solid Energy on the 28th of May 2009, despite the latest company report at the time stating that coal prices were falling, and we expect this downward trend to continue through 2009 and into 2010?
Honourable Tony Ryle.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, the government did not approve the debt at Solid Energy. It's the responsibility of the board to make investment decisions and structure of the balance sheet. I'd say to the member that, in fact, coal prices bounced back significantly in the second half of 2009 and peaked in 2011, which I think demonstrates the level of volatility in this area. And as Mr Palmer said, the board is in the best place to understand the earnings volatility and balance sheet risks of the company.
Supplementary question, Gareth Hughes.
To the Minister, does he then dispute the testimony of John Palmer this afternoon? And why did the government ignore the clear opposition by the Solid Energy Board to increasing the debt loading that has seen their debt just balloon?
Honourable Tony Ryle.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I can't comment on the first part of the member's question, but I can say quite clearly that it is the responsibility of the board to manage the balance between debt, dividends and capital investment. The problem here with Solid Energy is that a number of investments were made which have not delivered the returns that might have been expected of those, and coupled with the significant collapse in world coal prices, that is why the company finds itself in this position.
Supplementary question, Gareth Hughes.
Is John Palmer then correct in saying the national government encouraged Solid Energy to take on debt, to adopt an expansionary strategy, and if so, was it smart to take $164 million in dividends out of the state-owned enterprise at the same period when debt ballooned from $13 million to $313 million over the same period?
Honourable Tony Ryle.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, the level of dividends that were paid by Solid Energy are extremely moderate in comparison to the cash flows that that company was generating during a period of huge international coal prices. Everybody in this House knew about what was happening in Australia, the huge boom in coal prices, profits and investment happening over there. The government did ask for increased dividends, but the dividends that we received would not be at all unusual compared to the 65% of net profit for dividends that Mr Mallard indicated in 2008 were appropriate for a company like Solid Energy.
Order. Supplementary question, Gareth Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Has the Minister subsequently instructed or requested Solid Energy to see a reduction in debt or reduction in debt expansion?
Honourable
on behalf of the Minister of Finance, the government is working very closely with the banks and the board of Solid Energy with respect to the future of the company. The company has been severely impacted by the significant collapse in coal prices. 40% during 2012. Their export volumes fell 27% in one quarter alone. And this is the reason why I think it was Dr. Elder who described the company facing a perfect storm.
That's right. Point of order. Gareth Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question wasn't about Solid Energy or the bank. The question was, what's the Minister doing about debt?
And I've listened very carefully to the question, and I am quite happy that the question was adequately addressed with that answer. The member has further supplementary.
To the Minister, was he ever advised that the high New Zealand dollar was, to quote John Palmer this afternoon, a major factor in Solid Energy's demise? And is this yet another victim of this government's monetary policy?
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, if the world coal prices and the returns to Solid Energy are impacted by a whole lot of things, but the most significant driver was the collapse in world coal prices and actually a 27% drop in exports in one quarter alone. And that is the reason why this government is now working closely with the banks with respect to how we get this company moving into the future. I would say that that member opposite has opposed everything that Solid Energy has done to try and get its books back in order.
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think the Minister addressed the question at all.
Yes, he did. Well, if you listen to the question, he clearly did address it. He said it was one of the factors, then went on to elaborate with others. Does the member have further supplementary?
I do. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Gareth Hughes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Why does the Minister continue to blame biofuels for Solid Energy's demise when it was his government that removed the biofuels obligation? It was his government that reduced the financial support, and it was his government that's seen the carbon price drop from around $20 a tonne to about $1 a tonne.
Mr. Speaker,
Honourable Tony Ryle.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I simply don't believe that a government commitment to remove the biodiesel's obligation is responsible for the collapse of Solid Energy. I'd ask the member to look at what's happening in Australia, where I think Mr Tinkler is on the verge of being arrested because he won't front up to the collapse of his coal company. A number of American companies' value has collapsed by almost 70%. This is an international phenomenon that is affecting coal companies throughout the world, and that is the reason why Dr Elder today described the matching of the collapse in coal prices with the investment decisions that had been made as a perfect storm. This government is responding to that by working closely with the banks and the Board of Solid Energy to see what we can do, because we've got so many people who rely on this company.
Supplementary question, Gareth Hughes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister, is it clear, or does the Minister think the perfect storm he's referring to is in fact National Party policy, National Party decisions, and that's the reason we're seeing Solid Energy in such strife?
Honourable Tony Ryle.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I'm sure he is very impressed to know that his policies do have an impact on coal companies in the United States, coal companies in Canada, coal companies in China, coal companies in Australia, who have all been dramatically affected by the collapse in world coal prices. The problems with Solid Energy come from the investment decisions not generating the returns that they were expected, together with the collapse of world coal prices during 2012. This government is responding to that by working with the banks and the board to do what we can to salvage as much of this company as we can.
Question number 4, Jonathan Young.